So Leon Edwards is saying that he doesn't want to fight Belal Muhammad. His coach is saying that there's absolutely no reason because it's not interesting. All the MMA community are pushing back saying Belal Muhammad must have this fight. He has earned this fight. But there is only one person behind the decision that is being made here, and it's not Leon Edwards. I'm going to get to that in a second. Before I do, if you could hit like, subscribe and share, I'd really appreciate that. Cheers. Okay, so this story is popping off this week. It's Leon Edwards' coach. Gilbert Burns' fight brings more to the table than Belal Muhammad. A lot of people are raising eyebrows off the back of that statement thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Gilbert Burns already has a fight booked with Jack Della Maddalena. So I don't really understand the thought process behind what Dave Lovell was saying on the Ariel Helwani show. I guess they're just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing does it stick. As we have seen in the past, Leon Edwards doesn't hold any power as a welterweight champion or as a UFC champion. Absolutely not. Dana White decides who gets title shots and who doesn't. So all these headlines and all these people getting their nose out of joint with the fact that Belal isn't getting a title shot, I think that that's a little bit premature, to be honest with you. Until Dana comes out and says that this fight isn't happening, then it's time to actually say, okay, this is bullshit. This is actually bullshit. And we saw that Belal has pushed back hard on it. If we go over here, we listen to him.
12-fight win streak, no one would give him a shot. He was, all these other things were happening, and he was the guy getting kind of passed over on this long winning streak, and people wouldn't give him the shot. Does that, I guess of this whole thing, is that kind of what bugs you most, is because Leon was in your situation. He was absolutely in your situation saying, I deserve to be the title, I deserve to be, and we all agreed he was on a huge win streak. Now you're there and he's like, he doesn't deserve it. I don't get that.
I'll pause it there. On the run up to the Leon Edwards-Colby Covington fight, people were doing MMA math all over the place. They were justifying the fact that Leon Edwards has a better record than Colby Covington. We compared it here, and in the aftermath of that fight, a lot of people are talking shit in terms of who had the better resume going into that fight. He mentions it here about a 10-fight win streak, a 12-fight win streak, juxtaposed with what Belal Muhammad has done. And if you actually look at Belal Muhammad's actual record, it's far superior to what Leon Edwards has done in terms of the quality and the caliber of fighter and their position in the welterweight division. I think it's unfair to make that comparison, especially when you're talking about the likes of Gunnar Nelson, Damian Maia, all really established guys but well past their prime, compared to, who did Belal Muhammad beat last? It was Gilbert Burns, and before that it was Sean Brady. And he mentions it here in terms of what we watched Sean Brady do to Kelvin Gastelum last week. Absolute dominance, destroying someone who's from the division above him. We were all thinking that there was going to be an advantage in terms of weight or tenacity. We saw what this guy did with Israel Adesanya. Didn't come to fruition when he came down to 170 because Sean Brady put a clinic on this guy. Absolutely domination, start to finish. And then we just look back at Belal Muhammad's fight where he put Sean Brady out cold. He actually lumped him all over the ring. I'm not the biggest fan of Belal Muhammad, just in terms of his style. I think he talks a little bit of silliness, but everyone is guilty of that as of recently, as we all know. In terms of his style, it's not fantastic. It's a little bit boring. That's fine, but so is Leon Edwards. Let's be in no doubt about that. Take away one head kick. Maybe the most exciting thing that happened to him was getting his jaw taken off by Nate Diaz. That was fairly exciting, in fairness. So Belal Muhammad comes back here and he responds like you would expect him to respond.
Honestly, that's what pisses me off the most about him, and that's what's making me dislike him the most, is not even the fact that we fought and he's the one who committed the foul. He's the one who eye poked me. I'm the one who took the fight on 3 weeks' notice so he could have a fight.
Yeah, there's another nice little point there in terms of him taking the fight on 3 weeks' notice so Leon Edwards would have a fight. Then he goes in there. They get into a little bit back and forth first round. I think it was the second round there was an eye poke. Very in line with what Leon Edwards does in terms of his fighting style. And we have Dave Lovell on the Ariel Helwani show, and he kind of was spitting out lines talking about the fight against Belal Muhammad, and we already beat him. But we didn't beat him. It was a no contest, but we felt him and we felt what he was about in that first round. So you're kind of operating under the illusion that you went in there and you whipped Belal Muhammad. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen. What I'm saying is you went in there and you stuck your finger into his eyebrow. That's kind of what happened there, so calm down.
I'm dominating top guys that were on win streaks when I beat them, and you're acting like it ain't nothing. And the fact that he said he's not going to skip the line. I'm sitting there looking at this guy like, bro, is this guy an airhead? Like, I truly believe, is this guy like, is he playing dumb or is he dumb? Because I'm not skipping a line. There's no line.
So Leon Edwards is an airhead, or is he dumb, or is he just playing dumb? Because saying things like he's skipping the line, what line is he skipping, bro? Who's ahead of him on that line? I don't know. You're talking about Gilbert Burns is ahead of Belal Muhammad on that line. Don't get me wrong. The performance against Gilbert Burns by Belal Muhammad wasn't exactly a firecracker. But he still just beat him. He still just beat Sean Brady. He beat Luka. He beat the majority of the top 10. And you're saying that he's skipping the line?
beg for the biggest fights. I had to fight for the biggest fights. I had to fight Gilbert Burns on 3 weeks' notice. There was nothing given to me. I had to earn everything I got, and I had to go the long way to get here. So the fact that you're trying to downplay me, the fact that you're trying to disrespect my resume, that's what makes me the most angry about it.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with Belal Muhammad and pretty much the majority of the MMA community. I think that he's been disrespected badly, not only by Leon Edwards, and as I said, that isn't as important as Dana White. Dana White is disrespecting this guy really badly. Be under no illusion, it's Dana White that's in control of the narrative here. Leon Edwards and his team are talking about they don't want to fight Belal Muhammad because he's jumping the line and we think that Gilbert Burns is a better option. Again, delusional statement right there by the team in general. But we've seen this in the past with the Colby Covington fiasco. Dana said that you're getting Colby Covington next. Leon got all stroppy, trun his ties out of the pram and said absolutely not. Actually went public in a number of different interviews and said there's no way I'm giving this guy a title shot, absolutely not. And then held up the division for like 8 or 9 months and then finally did exactly what Dana White told him to do and fought Colby Covington. So the real story and the real question isn't about Leon Edwards and his team and how they feel about Belal Muhammad getting the title shot. The real question is, what is it that Belal Muhammad has done to Dana White to upset him this much? Because we get to the point where we're in the Colby Covington Leon Edwards post-fight press conference and Dana White doesn't call out Belal Muhammad, doesn't say that he's the next guy in line. We do a little reversal here and we take 2 steps back. We see that Colby showed up in Britain for the Usman and Leon Edwards fight as the backup fighter, made weight, did what he had to do, and that's why he was guaranteed the fight against Leon Edwards. That's why Dana was going balls to the wall for him. Belal Muhammad just did the exact same thing and no such niceties or generosity offered towards him in terms of being a title contender or getting the next shot. I think it's shady and Dana White has something up his sleeve. I don't know what it is. I know that Dana White is probably looking at that fight in terms of excitement and pay-per-views. What would that fight be? It's not going to be an explosive fight because a lot of people are saying to themselves, this isn't a pay-per-view event. I ain't paying for Belal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards to push each other up against the fence for 5 rounds. Absolutely not. And of course people are going to come back at me and say, what are you talking about, man? Leon Edwards is one of the most elite guys in the division. Dude, I'm holding up my hands here. It ain't me saying it. There's so many people jumping on board that line of thought. Fans lambast Joe Rogan's weird criticism of Leon Edwards despite Colby Covington rout at UFC 296. Wait for it. His co-trumper didn't win. Say you're MAGA without saying that you're MAGA? This is an actual article based on criticisms of Leon Edwards by Joe Rogan. What was the actual criticism? It must have been something really bad. It must have been something like disgusting to disrespect what King Leon Edwards did in the octagon that night. Let's just pop down and we'll have a look. So Rogan says that what was interesting is that he made choices tonight that were not the best choices to win the fight, but almost like to prove a point. What he's talking about is Leon Edwards shooting takedowns, which he completed. He did it very well. He took Colby down twice, I believe. But in terms of being this elite guy sticking to the plan, I'm sure that wasn't part of the plan. That was an ego thing. That's just an objective statement I think everyone can agree with. He chose to engage Colby in grappling moments where he did not have to, where he could have defended it, got back up to his feet. I think it would have been a better path to victory where he could have completely dominated the fight, absolutely dominated it. And then Joe goes on to say, Edwards found himself at the bottom at the end of the fight getting punched by Colby, which really didn't have to happen, Rogan continued. That's not the way you want to see a guy who is as good as Leon Edwards fight. You don't want to see him make ego-based decisions when he doesn't have to, especially when he's superior standing up. We're glazing him. We're giving all the credit that you can imagine. Top champion, elite fighter, so much better than Colby Covington. If he had stuck to the plan, it would have been a 5-round routing and domination because we know that Colby didn't offer anything in that. Joe gives him the bare bit of criticism, and in fairness, I don't agree with Joe Rogan on everything. This is decent criticism. And of course, everyone comes after him saying that he's a Trump supporter and all that type of stuff. Nothing surprising there. Daniel Cormier, I criticised him heavily after this fight for being super biased towards Leon Edwards, and now we have this headline from Daniel Cormier. Leon Edwards was dominant versus Colby Covington, but the performance left me wanting a little bit more. What do you mean by that, DC? If I'm being completely honest, while it was a dominant performance by a champion, I feel it left me wanting a little bit more, he said on his YouTube channel. Because generally, when we have these grudge match types of fights, we really have fun, exciting, all-action fights, then we have a little bit of stuff afterwards. He goes on to say here that the only way that this fight could have been any way fun is if Colby put on that pace that he's known for. So the fact that Colby didn't put the pace on is what made this fight a boring fight. So the fact that Colby didn't put into play what we all thought he was going to do and go straight after the takedown from round 1 really changed the dynamics of the fight for Daniel Cormier, which, if we're reading in between the lines and we're reading the subtext of what he's saying here, it was a boring fight. There was a lot of build-up. As I said in my reaction the other day, when Leon Edwards is spitting lines like, when I see this guy tomorrow in the octagon, it's over, I'm ending his life. Then we proceed with leg kicks, some half-assed takedowns, and then to finish the match, you're underneath getting your face pounded. Interesting. I wasn't the only one that spotted, but Daniel Cormier's coming around to it, Joe Rogan's coming around to it. Even Gilbert Burns was talking about this fight, and he said, listen, if we look at Leon Edwards' last fight against Kamaru Usman, I've trained with Kamaru. I work with him in the gym all the time. He was off the pace, man. What is the subtext to that statement from Gilbert Burns? You're saying that Kamaru Usman was off the pace in a very contentious 5-rounder that went the way of the champion? What do you actually mean by that? And to add fuel to all the fire, we have this. Now, you can believe whatever you want to believe in terms of Colby Covington, but he is claiming that he broke his foot in the first 30 seconds of the Leon Edwards fight. How long is it going to be before this narrative seeps into the mindset of Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, Joe Rogan, all these guys, and then they marry what he says in terms of breaking his foot in the first 30 seconds with what they actually saw, and all of a sudden we're coming out of that title fight where it was supposed to be a dominant clinic by Leon Edwards, and people are having a different opinion now, because we saw that with the Jared Gordon Paddy Pimblett fight, right? We all said it vehemently that Paddy Pimblett lost that fight. Jared Gordon lumped him all over the place. And then as the story unraveled months later, it turned out that Paddy Pimblett broke his foot in the first round. And if you see the return to the UFC that Paddy Pimblett put in just in the last 2 weeks, people were very complimentary of it. And I think the fact that he ended up having surgery on his foot, 3 surgeries, and then we're forced to look back retrospectively on that fight and think, he broke his leg in the first round and still managed to stay on his foot and still managed to stay in the fight. Gotta hold up your hands and be like, okay, that changes the perspective of it. If we have Cormier, Joe Rogan, Gilbert Burns criticizing the performance by King Rocky Leon Edwards at the moment, and then we have media in general criticizing the fact that him and his team don't want to give Belal another chance, everybody seems to be overlooking the fact that Dana is the one calling the shots there. Leon has no power. And now we have Colby Covington coming out that he claims that he broke his leg in that fight in the first 30 seconds. There's so many moving parts to this whole welterweight division. Who's next in line for a title shot? Who should it be? And what do we think of Leon Edwards as the welterweight champion? Is he going to be active? Is he going to give a chance to Belal Muhammad? Is Dana going to give Belal Muhammad a chance? I find the whole thing extremely interesting. I think that Belal Muhammad really deserves a title shot. I think he should get the next title shot. I think that they should shut down all the stupid talk about there's better options there for us and he's jumping the line. And I think Dana should come out and definitively say, this dude earned it. He beat the brakes off everybody in the top 10. He's getting a title shot. And after that, you can think whatever you want about the contender and about the champion. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know yours down below. Cheers.